It's 1 o'clock.
There it is. Hello, everybody. It's Leon, your pal, your friend. And today, what I want to talk to you about is workflow. Okay, now this is going to be the proposed workflow for anyone who wants to partner with a service like ours. Okay, this is going to be a little more geared towards wedding photographers for sure, but I assure you this will work for anyone. Let's take a look here. Just to get this out in the open right now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm testing out some new live stream software. I'm hoping that this video can just stay on the internet, but there's a chance that this could be a beautiful train wreck. So if you're joining me live now, be prepared. Maybe this will be fun. A comedy of errors. We will see. Anyway, I'm going to do my best. I have some notes. This is largely unscripted, but I do have some notes. And what I want to walk you through is the basic workflow for coming home from a wedding or a shoot, organizing your files, and then sending those files to us to be edited. Let's take a look here at what I want to cover. This is just one workflow, okay? I'm just going to tell you this. This is one workflow. I'm not declaring that this is the best workflow or saying that this is the most amazing workflow that you could ever use. Every workflow is going to vary just a little bit, right? What works for my brain might not work for your brain. And so this workflow that I'm going to propose is just one. Maybe not the world's best, just one. The other thing is, like I said, it is aimed mostly at the wedding photographer, but we serve all photographers. We are very inclusive. So whether you're a portrait photographer, dog photographer, event photographer, we are here to help you. Okay, now let's take a brief flyby of what this workflow looks like. I'm going to start sharing the screen here in a second so you can start to see some of these elements. But in short, the workflow assumes this, that when you come home from a shoot, you download all your images into one folder and you do your culling or make your initial selections in Photomechanic. We suggest Photomechanic, and I'll tell you why in just a second. I'll show you why. Then you take only your keepers, your favorite images, and put those into Lightroom. And I'll get into why on that too. And from Lightroom, by the way, you're just creating one single catalog per shoot. Okay, you have a new shoot, you're going to create a brand new catalog just for that, and then send us the Lightroom catalog and the Smart Previews. So that's how it works. And I'm ready to jump in on this. Are you guys ready? I'm ready. Let's do this. Okay. Let me switch screens here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you what this might look like. Okay? Here's what I have. I'm about to show you basically what the whole workflow would look like, but it's all abbreviated. Okay? This is an abbreviated batch of images. Okay? This is just a short tutorial, not meant to be a live edit, because a live edit on this kind of thing, honestly, would probably be the most boring video on the entire internet, I think. So we're going to do an abbreviated edit here where I just show you a small batch of images and we're going to pretend, okay, that this is the entire wedding. So what I have here is a folder full of images. And we're going to pretend that this is everything that you shot on the wedding day. Now, I'm always going to suggest that photographers use Photomechanic for their initial selections. Photomechanic is insanely fast at loading raw files. When you drag and drop a folder of raw files onto Photomechanic, it's ready to go immediately. There's no load time for all your raw files. It's just boom. It's so fast. Contrast that with Lightroom. Okay, so in Lightroom, if you load, let's say 4,000 images into Lightroom, things are going to go pretty slow. Even when you're just doing minimal previews, it's just going to chug, and it's not really truly ready to do your initial culling right away. It needs to create the previews, and that takes some time. And then once the previews are created, I've noticed there's still a lag time when you go from image to image. When you click next, 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 there's still a little bit of lag time, and it's a little bit fuzzy, a little pixelated in between. So here's what I love about Photomechanic. It's just so fast. So I have a folder here of images from a wedding, okay, raw files. Just going to drag those here and drop them on Photomechanic. And what you can see here is that immediately these raw files loaded. Boom, they're all here. You can double click on them, see them larger, and you can click them. Let's do that even better. So I'm going to double click here and pretend that I'm going to start doing my culling. Now I know this is a small batch of images, this is a small folder, but notice how quickly I'm able to cycle through those images versus Lightroom, which is pretty slow. Okay, so I've prepared these images ahead of time. I've assumed that, I guess I've prepared these images in a way that I've already made the selections, okay? Because you don't want to sit and watch me sort through 4,000 images from a wedding. That would be boring. Here's one thing I wanted to mention on culling, or selections, whatever you like to call it. This is a technique that I learned a long time ago that really, really helped me personally with culling, because it was the one thing that I dreaded the most when it came to post-production. I hated culling so much, but this changed it for me. Okay, so there's a little button here on Photo Mechanic that says reverse, and it allows you to show the images in reverse order. You can rank them from capture time or file name, whichever works best for you. The idea or the concept is that when you sort your images by capture time and you're doing your culling, the best images you're going to see first. Now think about this. How many times have you been in the middle of a shoot, you see something cool and you start lining it up and you start shooting, and you adjust, you move, you change your settings, you change your zoom, whatever, and once you feel like things are really clicking, you might fire a few more and you're done. You move on to the next thing. So the idea is that when you're in Photo Mechanic and you're culling, you will potentially see your best images first. One little idea, one little workflow hack that may or may not work for you. Try it. And I would love to know in the comments below, do you use this method? Have you used this method, and what do you think? Does it work for you? Okay. So in Photo Mechanic, I'm going to pretend that I just did the initial selections. I marked my keepers with a label, a color label. Now I just use the one key on the keyboard just because it's there. It's quick, it's close. You can use whatever label you wish to use. Once I've selected the images, I'm now able to push those. I like to physically separate those from the main folder of images. And what I do here is I like to create a new folder, and I like to call it underscore keeps. Underscore, that underscore makes it possible for this folder to always rise to the top in Finder. Okay? If you're ranking things in alphabetical order, it just automatically puts it at the top. So I'm going to go back here to Photo Mechanic. Let's go to view the entire screen. I'm going to go back to Photo Mechanic here, and I'm going to filter so that I can just see my keepers, just the ones that I want to move into that keepers folder. Okay? I'm going to select all, and from Photo Mechanic, boom, drop them right into that keepers folder. Okay? It actually moves the files, and I like that. Okay? Personal preference, I like them being separated. Okay, now I can close Photo Mechanic. Yes, I'm sure. Okay. Now, from Finder, here's what we want to do. We want to take those keepers. We want to import just these images into Lightroom. Okay? I'm going to suggest, like I said, a brand new catalog for every single shoot. I suggest a brand new Lightroom catalog for every single shoot, because once you load Lightroom down with like 20,000 images, things just start to get really slow. The more images you put into that Lightroom catalog, the slower it gets. Now, there are pros and cons, of course, to doing one catalog for everything you shoot, maybe in an entire year. And that could be like keywording, right? Like you might use keywords to organize your images for bridal portraits or detail shots or certain locations and those types of things. So you do lose that aspect, that search aspect, when you create a brand new catalog for every single shoot. However, the overhead on having a gigantic catalog in Lightroom, I think is worth the trade-off. I think that when you get so many images in Lightroom, it just becomes unbearable. You might not. That's okay with you if you want to use a single catalog, and we have a workflow that will work for you too. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to import these images into Lightroom, but here's the super user trick, okay? Of course, I could go to Lightroom and just create a new catalog from Lightroom, but here's what I want to do. I'm going to hold down the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on Windows. When I hold down that Option key and launch Lightroom, it gives me a dialog box where I can create a new catalog. Boom, right here. Now, my couple, their name is John and Kim, so I'm just going to name my catalog John and Kim. Some people like that plus sign. I'm going to use that plus sign. Yeah, let's do that. Now, I've just got a folder here that's called Sample Wedding. This is probably what would be your hard drive where you save all your images. And inside that I have the folder with the date of the shoot, led by the year, of course, and the name, the reference name, John and Kim. And I might create a new folder in here that's just for the Lightroom catalog. When I create this name here, it's going to create a new folder anyway, but I'll show you how that works. Here, I'm going to hit Create and Lightroom will open up with some options for me. So here we have Lightroom, and I'm going to import this folder of keepers. I'm going to drag that right here. Okay, and in this window, here's what I want to do. I want to build smart previews. That's kind of the important part right away. I want to check that. You can do minimal previews, that's fine. If you have, by the way, if you happen to have a certain preset that you like to use as your starting point, maybe you've got a Visco preset or a Totally Rad preset or something like that, you can always apply that preset right here as your starting point. So whatever that preset is, you could always go in here and choose that one. And that way upon import, it's applying that preset already. That is to say as well, if you use a preset on your images as a starting point, it's always best to apply that preset before you send us your catalog. It's just the cleanest, easiest, simplest way. And by the way, it's the way with the least amount of errors. So apply your preset if you have one. If you don't and you just trust us and we already have a good system for your preferences, then you can just leave this blank. And that's it. That's all you've got to do. Just make sure that that Build Smart Previews checkbox is on. Now we're going to import, and you see you've got the status bar up here in the left hand corner just giving you a status. Okay, it's importing the files, and next up it's going to say Building Smart Previews. Nothing really to do here except for just wait for Lightroom to build those smart previews. Now you see why I chose to give you an abbreviated look at a wedding, right? A smaller number of images and not 4,000 images in Lightroom, right? Because Lightroom is still building previews. And honestly, at this very moment while I'm doing the live stream, I'm wishing I could hit fast forward because we only have 41 images in here. Yes, I'm doing the streaming software. There's a lot of overhead on my computer right now, so it's slowing things down. But once this preview is done, you're ready to go. You're ready to close Lightroom and get ready to send us those files. While that's building there, I'll pull up the order form. So on our website, you've got the order form where you can punch in your name, fake order, fake studio, just for demonstration purposes here, fake@fake.com. And my couple's name is John and Kim. So I'm going to put that reference name right here, John and Kim. This should always be a unique reference to your client name. It can be their first names, it can be their last name, whatever you prefer. Doesn't really matter to us, but it should not be your studio name. Why? Because if you're going to send us multiple orders over and over, we're going to have the same reference name for all your orders. That won't work. So we want to make sure that this is a unique reference name. From here, we can select the service color correction. We're going for the Lightroom catalog, and this is Lightroom CC. Pretty much everybody's doing Lightroom catalogs and CC these days. In our current demo, we don't need culling. In this catalog, we've got 41 images, so I'm just going to put 41 there. In your wedding image, or in your wedding catalog, you might have 400 or whatever. The cool thing is about the order form, it gives you a live update on your estimated cost. I'm just going to put 41 here, $12.30, breaking the bank here. And then down here on the order form, you have the option to choose a fast pass. Now, what is a fast pass? Simple. I stole that phrase, by the way. I stole it from Disneyland. Disneyland used to use this thing called a fast pass. Probably still do. If you want your order to go to the front of the line, just check that button there. All our turnaround time, I should say, on all of our orders is 3 to 5 business days. And if that's okay for you, do that. But if you want your order to go to the front of the line, choose that one. It's $40 extra. If you have any special instructions on your order, for example, like this one I had a hard time with. I had a hard time with reception lighting. Need help. Whatever. I mean, you can put anything you want in this special instructions here. This is just a place for you to give us a heads up if there's a problem or if you have any special instructions. Okay, once you're ready, just hit this button, Send Order, and you're directed to a new page where you can upload your files. So you put your name here, fake at fake.com, and this is John and Kim. Whoops. John and Kim. No notes needed here because we already covered that on the other side. Now what's cool here, I'm going to jump back to Lightroom real quick just to show you what's going on here. We're about to complete the smart previews. Okay, it's just about done. And this really goes to show you how much resources a live streaming software takes up on your computer, because usually this is pretty quick on Lightroom for 41 images. Okay. Now, let's answer that question. What is a smart preview? Basically, a smart preview is a small web-sized version of your RAW file. Now, smart previews in Lightroom are pretty cool because this allows us to work on your files at a full screen resolution, I should say, not web resolution. We can work on your files at screen resolution and still be able to zoom in pretty closely on these files. And they're optimized for the screen, and we can do all the edits on these files as if we had your original RAW files. Now the difference is you don't have to send us 12 gigs worth of RAW files to get this done. That used to be impossible to do over the internet. It's a little bit better these days, but still, smart previews make this workflow magic. Okay, ready? Are you ready for this? So here's what we're going to do. So once our Lightroom status bar is completed here, there's no status bar over here. It's completed the previews. We can actually just close Lightroom. Boom, it's gone. Now over here, remember, we created our catalog. Did we? What happened to it? Stand by. Let me open Lightroom real quick again. Looking for that catalog. What did I do with it? I saved it in the wrong spot, I bet you. John and Kim. It's in there. Oh, that's the problem. There it is. Okay. So notice how Lightroom is open, and we have 5 files in this folder. Watch what happens to that folder when we close Lightroom. Okay? We now only have 3 files. And the only files that we need here are the catalog, the Lightroom catalog, and the smart previews. On a Mac, you can select these 2 files just like that. Okay, so you just select those 2 files and right-click and choose Compress to Items. And when you do that, you get a zip file that says archive.zip. I don't love that it says archive because it's not unique to your studio. So we got to rename it. Okay, let's say my name is John Smith. So I'm going to name this with a convention that makes it easy to always identify your order. J. Smith. So it's first initial, last name, underscore, John and Kim. Boom. Ready to go. Now I can just drag this zip file over here to the web browser into this little drop zone. And it's only 32 megabytes, right? So 32 megabytes for 40 files, I get it, you know, but most wedding orders are just a few hundred megabytes, maybe a few hundred megabytes at most. And then hit send files. Once it's complete, you'll get a little status update here that says it's done and you're good to go, and you can close this window. Don't close this window, by the way, until this is done. And don't quit the browser. Don't close your laptop, because this needs to be completely done before you do that. Okay? Well, I made it. It wasn't so much of a train wreck, was it? I hope that provides some good insight to you. I've wanted to have a good video that kind of explained that whole process. And maybe that wasn't, you know, the most in-depth workflow video ever. It wasn't really designed to be. I just wanted to give you guys a quick look at the process and how to best use Lightroom with the smart previews. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, don't be shy, okay? I'm always here for you, always here to help. So if you have a question, drop a question in the comments below. If you have a long question, shoot me an email, Leon, Leon, @essentialedit.com. Hope all of you are well. Hope the season is treating you well. And we'll see you soon. Take care.